Hey, free thinkers, welcome to Superpowers Story Hour. Today's topic is Grey Jedi. Why do I want to talk about Grey Jedi? Because, like I discussed in my last video, philosophy is baked into the media we consume, whether we realize it or not. There is no such thing as a story without a worldview. With that being said, let's dive into the lore of the Force wielders who walk their own path, the Grey Jedi. George Lucas wrote Star Wars from the many inspirations he had during his formative years. These inspirations included Flash Gordon, Lord of the Rings, and a host of Saturday morning serials that boomers loved. Those inspirations culminated in an epic hero's journey involving dueling space wizards and a princess in need of rescue. In other words, a story about good versus evil. Here is where Lucas hit a conundrum. From which worldview would he draw the morals of his story? This was the mid-20th century. While Christian values had dominated the culture up to this point, they were declining in popular culture. Like many baby boomers of his day, Lucas was enticed by Eastern philosophy, although he had grown up in a Christian culture. Some of the major inspirations for Star Wars had a Christian worldview. This would normally not be an issue if Star Wars were simply about universally accepted values that constitute generally accepted terms of good and evil. However, Star Wars isn't just about morals, but the supernatural. So, how did Lucas communicate morality and the supernatural in a way that would not only be palatable to him and his own generation, but to the masses? He created an amalgamation. This amalgamation was East meets West, Judeo-Christian values meets Taoism. What better way to tell a tale when the central characters are good and evil amalgamations of knights and samurai? He would call it the Force. For many, the Force was the perfect answer to not only what had become the common zeitgeist of good and evil, but for religion as a whole. Jedi have even since become a real religion. Those among us who take religion and philosophy a little more seriously, however, see some glaring issues with the Force and the superficial nature of the philosophy of Star Wars. Yeah, I said it. Like most, I was a kid when I got into Star Wars. This was my gateway drug into science fiction. Then, when I was a little older, I saw the lightsaber duel in Return of the Jedi. Luke nearly fell to the dark side. Why? Because he stood up for his sister against a man who was notorious for his cruelty. Doesn't seem very Sith-like to me. In fact, to this day, I see this scene as a contradiction to the message Lucas was trying to convey. To unpack why I think this, let's revisit how exactly the Force works, since it's central to the story. There is a light side and a dark side. One is good and the other is evil.
But how am I to know the good side from the bad?
You will know.
You just feel it. You know the difference because the good side only consists of positive feelings and the bad side only consists of negative feelings. Simple, right? Well, for many of us, me included, it's too simple. As Yoda famously said, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. By that logic, anger can never be good, right? Even when you're using it to fight a tyrant who has evil intentions for your sister, wrong. Here is where Lucas ran into the contradiction in Return of the Jedi. In attempting to create a sort of metaphysics where positive feelings are good and negative feelings are evil, Lucas limited his universe to a very superficial epistemology where he was unable to explain something like righteous anger, a negative feeling which comes from love, a positive feeling. Therefore, Lucas was pigeonholed into forcing Luke to the edge of the dark side. Later, or should I say earlier, Lucas used Anakin's love for Padme as a catalyst for his conversion to the dark side. George Lucas actually said that Jedi aren't necessarily celibate, but not allowed to have possessive relationships. To me, that sounds a little Buddhist monk, a little Brave New World. Only Aldous Huxley knew that sex without attachment was toxic when he wrote Brave New World. Anyway, Lucas does gain some consistency points by going more Eastern here in saying that possessive relationships are toxic. Logically, however, I think while it may explain turning against the Jedi, I don't think it holds up as a catalyst for Anakin killing children in the same film. Now that we've touched a little on the contradictions behind the Jedi, let's look at the Grey Jedi. We'll start by asking a simple question. What is a Grey Jedi? According to Wikipedia, a Grey Jedi is a Jedi or a Sith who refuses to accept just one side of the Force, but instead uses both. There are more complex and nuanced definitions out there. There was an actual Grey Jedi Order founded in 132 BBY, but they all share that common thread, so that's the definition I'm sticking with. The Grey Jedi even have their own code, which goes as follows. Flowing through all, there is balance. There is no peace without a passion to create. There is no passion without peace to guide. Knowledge fades without the strength to act. Power blinds without the serenity to see. There is freedom in life. There is purpose in death. The Force is all things, and I am the Force. Although the Grey Jedi Order was founded on what they call relativism, their views, as far as I can tell, are not morally relativistic. They still believe in good and evil. They just believe both sides of the Force are useful. They're the Eagle Fang karate of the Star Wars universe. For those who aren't familiar with Karate Kid, or its television sequel, Cobra Kai, Eagle Fang is the morally righteous version of Cobra Kai, which serves as an evil or dark side version of karate and opposes Miyagi-Do, which is the light side. Similar to the Jedi, Miyagi-Do practitioners often let evildoers go too far before they intervene. Any aggression, in their view, is seen as evil. Cobra Kai, on the other hand, believes in always striking first, similar to the Sith. But look at it this way. If you knew for a fact that someone had evil intentions for someone else who was defenseless, would you not potentially attack in anger?
Good.
Or at least use the anger the situation might provoke to do some good? Let me put it this way. Is Wolverine evil when he uses anger to fuel his berserker rage? He's a little out of control maybe, but certainly not evil. Which leads me to my point. Negative feelings like anger are not always evil, just like positive feelings like joy are not always good. I mean, look at Palpatine. The guy laughs like a maniac. There is a certain historical figure who many view as the perfect embodiment of morality, who also bears the title Prince of Peace. I'm of course talking about Jesus. Although he was slow to anger, he did have a famous outburst against people who were committing injustices in his temple. This is often shown as an example of righteous anger. I'm not saying we are to judge others and lash out in anger. The Bible makes it clear that doing such things is simply not our place. I only bring this up to make one point, that anger can indeed be righteous if it is guided by an accurate moral compass. That being said, we should be careful to not be so certain that our moral compass is always the right one. It takes careful consideration and humility, not pride, to arrive at the truth.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
With all that in mind, I am left to conclude that neither the philosophy of the Jedi nor the Sith are complete enough to explain the complex morality of the universe. That's why I'm more inclined toward the Grey Jedi. Want to know more about philosophy's effect on both fiction and the real world? Tune in Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern for Creativity Cookout, where I'm joined with guests to tackle topics like these and so much more. Would you like me to do a part 2 on Grey Jedi so I could go into specific Jedi in the Star Wars lore? Leave a comment below. See you next time.
De Juazeiro numa caverna do louro francês. O velho transformou o mito das raças tristes em minotauros. Júnior Cigano, em José Aldo, e outro machista. Nossa, foda.